Good morning, Wabash. Speaking today at Pioneer Chapel is Kyle Richard with his talk titled, A Talk with Kyle Richard from It's On Us. Kyle Richard is the Associate Director of Men's Engagement and Special Projects for It's On Us. He is an advocate and national speaker for sexual violence prevention in sports. He's been recognized by It's On Us, the Capital One Orange Bowl, the Institute for Sports and Social Justice, and media outlets such as ESPN and CNN for being an active bystander for his efforts to engage athletes and men in violence prevention. He had the privilege of receiving a letter of praise from Commissioner Roger Goodell at 2018, the It's On Us Biden Courage Awards. In 2017, the graduate and former two-time captain for SUNY Cortland football intervened with his friends in what was potentially an act of sexual assault. When Kyle confronted the assailant in the aftermath, the assailant shot him twice, leaving him doubtful to ever return to the field. Fortunately, he completed a comeback and led the Red Dragons for the next 2 years. When his story began to spread, he received messages from an array of sexual and domestic violence survivors. This sparked his desire to transition from the linebacker role to the role of helping organizations such as It's On Us and the sports world tackle issues of violence through prevention work. Let's give a warm welcome to Kyle.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Come to chapel. That was awesome. I'm starting to see the culture here get ingrained a little bit. I met a couple of you last night with the SAC group. Round of applause for the SAC group. They did excellent last night. I put them to the task. You know, I've been trying to do this work for a little while now, and they really gave me a big help last night. And SAC group, before I forget, make sure after I'm done, we take a picture together. My boss is really excited about everything you guys have to say, so please stick around if you were in that SAC group last night. And we'll take pictures in general, even if you're not SAC, you know? Again, I'm Kyle. I'm from Long Island, New York. I'm 25 years old. I graduated college in 2020. My internship was that 2020 year. I was done with my classes in 2019, so the COVID didn't affect me as much as a student. I got out right away, like right before that happened. So I grew up in Long Island. My whole life, sports played a major role for me. And as you know, I was a college athlete. And it really started off when I was really, really little. And before I get into any details, I just want to let you know there's going to be a lot of sensitive topics talked about, a little vulgar language used, and yada, yada, yada. I just want to get that out the way first, okay? All right, so I was 6 years old, and I had a babysitter, and that babysitter would watch over me and my younger brother. I have an older brother, too. So the babysitter brought her nephew over when I was really young, and we were cool, we were friends. One day, her nephew kept on asking me, hey, Kyle, do you want to go to the nasty club? Do you want to go to the nasty club? And I was like, what are you talking about? What's the nasty club? I was young, it sounded intriguing. I was like, what's that? He brings me to my living room. He brings me under a blanket on the couch. And then the next thing you know, everything kind of started getting surprising for me. He started to kiss on me. He started to touch on me, take my clothes off. And at that moment, I didn't know what was going on. I was 6 years old. He starts fondling me, touching on me, and I'm like, I felt weird. I felt queasy inside. Like, what is happening right now? One thing leads to another, and all of a sudden my older brother comes barging down the stairs, and he sees the blanket. He doesn't see what's going on under it. But I just remember him just knowing that we were both under there, and he was just like, oh, y'all are some faggots. Y'all are gay. Y'all are this. Y'all are that. And as soon as I heard that, I remember putting my shirt on so fast, pulling my pants up so fast, getting from under the blanket, running up the stairs, going to my room, and closing my door and trying to forget about that forever. I tried to forget about that moment forever. Her nephew was older than me. He was a couple years older than me. It seemed like he knew what he was doing. It seemed like he was trying to take advantage of me. But I was too young to put the words to it. I also grew up in a household where my dad, my parents kind of had problems together, and I grew up kind of just moving between the two, and my dad, he just never had any emotions. You weren't allowed to express yourself. Anytime I expressed myself, I would get the belt, just get beat down. I'm sure some of you probably dealt with that too. And, when I'm taking physical abuse and just constantly always arguing and getting yelled at, about whenever I had to express myself or whenever I had something to say, I held stuff in. I became numb to all my emotions as a guy. And when that happened to me as a kid, of course I wasn't gonna tell my dad that that happened, because I couldn't express myself. And I didn't want him to think I was something I wasn't. Luckily, I have my brothers, and we both all three of us love sports. We love playing together in the front yard, backyard. I spent almost all my days in school and then in sport. I played them all: hockey, football, baseball, basketball, soccer. Okay, and I played that, and I always spent my time doing that. I still remember being in middle school, playing all those sports, and then randomly would think about what happened to me as a kid. Very randomly. To the point where I was like, is that like a dream? But I know what happened. Right? It was still crawling around my brain every now and then. It would come up. Like, that embarrassing moment that just comes up randomly out of nowhere? That's what it felt like for me. Just like, dang, why did that happen? Like, why did I tell the Starbucks cashier this? Like, why did I say that? That was my embarrassing moment that kept on coming up for me. I don't know if that led me to, like, in middle school to be sensitive about, myself. I didn't want people to think that if they ever heard that story or felt something that they knew about that story, I didn't want them to think I was gay. And in turn, honestly, I started becoming much more homophobic and started talking down on people that were a little more feminine in nature. I would like call them out, like, just say you're gay, because I wanted to be the man. I wanted to overpower what happened to me as a kid. I wanted to be the alpha male in my school. I wanted to be that guy. And I thought that when I saw older people doing that and calling people out for being gay and calling people out for being homophobic, that I wanted to be those guys because they were the ones that people looked at and laughed to, and people had camaraderie. So I was going down that route, but at some point in high school, like early in high school, one of my best friends came out as bisexual, and in my household, there was no such thing. My dad was like, there's no such thing as bisexuality for guys. It's straight. It's either you're straight or you're not. I never fully agreed. I mean, I kind of was like, all right, whatever. But when my friend came out as bisexual, I'm like, he's bisexual. So I'm like having all these like things happen to me, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should stop acting like that. Maybe I should stop acting like a fool. Maybe I was affecting my friend this whole time. Who knows what some of my words were doing to him? Because he was around for a lot of that stuff when I was talking my smack in middle school. By the time I got to high school, I wanted to get to college. I realized like I didn't like my household. I didn't really like my dad at the time. I love him now, but at the time it was too much. It was too aggressive between the two of us. We would get to physical fights, verbal arguments all the time, and I realized the only way to get out of here is through sports. The only way I could get out of here is to play football or baseball and get a scholarship or something, get accepted to a D3 or whatever. And yeah, I thought I was gonna get a scholarship. It didn't happen, all right? About 40 times, like a 4.9 maybe, and that's not good enough to get that money up. So I ended up going D3 like you guys. But I went to a top tier D3 like you guys. I went to SUNY Cortland. I'm not sure, raise your hand if you ever played SUNY Cortland in some type of playoff fashion. No. I've always wanted to come out here and play. That would be a good sign if we came out here to play in some playoffs. But I got accepted. I went to SUNY Cortland. First year, horrible. I was so happy that I was away from home that I basically failed out. And in the off season, I had to write a letter to the school to say, hey, listen, like I was a good student in high school, like please let me back, please let me back. I begged to get back into school, and they let me back into school. Sophomore year comes around, I'm like, I'm not gonna repeat what I did freshman year. I'm gonna work hard, I'm gonna grind, I'm gonna get on the field and grind. I was a fifth string kid as a freshman. I thought I was nice. I thought I was getting a scholarship. I go to a D3 and I'm like fifth string, so I was way off. But by the time I was a sophomore, football camp came around and I became a starter. Not only that, by the spring of sophomore year, at the end of the year, we were voting on captains, and I got voted captain. So just a complete shift from almost failing out freshman year to becoming a captain of the football team sophomore year. So that's a little side note for anybody that's in here struggling. That offseason, I'm now a captain, I now feel official, I feel like my life is starting to really take shape. I go to a party with my friends from high school that summer going into my junior year. It was July. I just had my birthday celebration with my older brother. He took me to a UFC event, the first ever on Long Island. We celebrated, we hugged each other because our guy won the main event. And after we hugged each other, we were like, yo, don't do that. Like, don't ever do that ever again. It was just something how we grew up, I don't know. After that, he takes me to my friend's party. Party's cool for a couple of hours, it's just my friends. It was more of like a get-together kind of feel rather than like a party. But when 12 o'clock hit, it got doubled in size. So it went from a get-together to a party. The people that came in, I didn't know who they were. But it was the off season, I wasn't at my college, I was at my friend's off-campus house. So, party's going on. I start to notice two different people. The first person I start to notice is this guy. I was in the kitchen, and there was like a bottle collection that they had going. This guy came up to me and was like, yo, give me one of those bottles, give me one of those bottles. But it's not my house, right? So I was like, oh, no, it's not mine, man, it's not mine, whatever. He came back again, like soon after. He's like, yo, give me one of those bottles, give me one of those bottles. And I'm looking at him like, yo, did you not hear me? Right? Like, what's going on? Are you good? He came back a third time, and that's when it got like, yo, who are you? What's going on here? He just would not take no for an answer. The other person I start to notice is a young woman. And when I first started talking to her, I realized right away, oh, like, she's done. She's either, like, very intoxicated, very high, both, who knows, but I could tell. Like, she's slurring her words, she's stumbling over herself. At one point, she was walking down the stairs and slipped and fell, okay? Some people were downstairs laughing. I'm like, what happened? I look down, and she's at the bottom of the stairs laying there. And I'm like, oh, damn. And by the time I go down there, I realize that she's laughing too. People around her are laughing. And then I started laughing too. I can't lie. I was laughing, whatever. But I got her up, though. I was trying to be a good guy. I'm like, okay, you're done. I got her up, picked her up. We started walking up the stairs. I put her on the couch, right in the general space of where everybody is, put her right on the couch and said, you're done today. You're gonna stay right here. Where are your friends? She didn't know where her friends went. I was like, all right, well, you're just gonna chill here. Don't move, just stay. A couple hours go by, the party started to close down. We're moving the DJ stuff outside. Then, I'm in the kitchen talking to my friend Suleiman, who was my high school teammate. My friend Lanice comes in, and she pokes her head in, and she looked really concerned. And she was just like, somebody's in the bathroom. Somebody's in the bathroom. And we looked at her like, what are you talking about? Suleiman got up. Suli is his nickname. Suli walked over to the bathroom. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, somebody's in the bathroom. Like, she was like, whoa, like something's happening here. So I get up, I walk around, and by the time I get to the bathroom, Suli's already at the bathroom door, and his foot's at the bottom of the door. And he's just barging. He's just throwing his shoulder. Suli would never overreact. So I know something is going down. So I go over to the door, and I start doing the same thing. I'm helping him out, trying to bang it down. And as I'm banging, I start hearing that there's somebody's in there. Like, somebody's like murmuring and like kind of like wincing. And I don't know what's going on. We cannot completely tell what's happening. We give it a couple more shots, and then I hear a click on the inside, and I'm like, I think it's open. But we still hit it one more time. The door pops open, and this image is going to last with me forever. It was him, that same guy, with that same girl. He had his hand on her neck. His belt buckle was undone. She's tearing, and he's smiling. Smiling. And that's like a freeze frame image for the rest of my life. She comes out the room first, and I go to her and I grab her. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? Suleiman takes him and pins him up against the wall. I saw him literally physically pick him up against the wall because we both knew it was wrong. We both know you can't take advantage of people. You can't coerce people into doing something they want to do. He was trying to take advantage of her, and it was clear as day. We know you can't try to abuse somebody that's younger than you. It's sickening. It's problematic. If somebody doesn't want to do something, or somebody's not capable of doing something, why are you trying to take advantage? That's why we were furious. That's why we were mad at that moment. And when I go to her, I'm walking with her away from him, and I'm saying, what's going on? What's going on? And she's like, he's trying to hurt me. He's trying to hurt me. He's trying to rape me. And that's when I flipped. I turn around, I'm like, where is he? He's no longer being pinned up against the wall. And I'm looking for Suli, I'm looking for him, and I'm pushing past people. Where is he? Where is he? I was seeing red, y'all. Go to the backyard, nobody's there. Go to the side, nobody's there. But as soon as I get to the front, I see him on the front porch, still at the party. He's on the front porch, smiling and laughing, as if he didn't try to take advantage of her. So I started walking at him. I said, what the fuck were you trying to do to her? He gets up off the porch. He starts walking. He's like, yo, chill, chill, chill. I'm like, nah, what the fuck were you trying to do to her? He starts walking, starts to backpedal a little bit, pulls out a gun, and starts letting shots off. I got hit twice. The first bullet went through my right leg, through my quad, it came out my hamstring. The left bullet, as I turned to run, he hit me again in my left leg through my quad. And as I'm running, he shot again and missed me somewhere over the right. I didn't even realize, like I was seeing such tunnel vision on him, I was so focused on what he was trying to do and trying to confront him, I didn't even realize Suli was out there with me. I start to run and Suli kind of intersects me, like I'm running to the side of the house to get cover. He like grabs me over my shoulder and runs with me. And he's like, you good, you good? And I'm like, nah, bro, I'm hit. He's like, no, you're not. And I'm like, yo, bro, I'm hit. He didn't want to believe it. We get inside, everybody's looking for cover, crawling around, trying to get behind walls. People are crying, all my friends from high school. And I come in and I don't know, man. I'm still mad, but I'm scared, but I don't know what to feel. I never felt anything. I tried to be numb my whole life. And this moment, I didn't know what to feel. I'm walking back and forth, not understanding what just happened. Until a girl sees me, one of my friends from high school, she's like, Kyle, you gotta sit down, what happened? And she looks at my legs and there's blood going down my shorts, going down into my shoes. Somebody fainted. They grabbed me, put me on a couch, and I'm feeling pain. I'm feeling the heat of the bullets. And I felt that for 30 seconds, and then all of a sudden, more shots are going off. Just pop, 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 pop. And everybody in there is just screaming, who the fuck is he shooting at now? Couple seconds go by, and in comes my friend Mike, from one of my best friends since 6th grade. He comes through the back door. He had a white t-shirt on. It was now blood red. And they sit him on a couch adjacent from me at first. And I see he actually had his twin sister in the room. His cousin is Suli. And they're freaking out. And they sit him on the couch adjacent from me. But I said, no. I'm dealing with this too. Bring Mike over here. They sit Mike down next to me. He's in pain. He's wincing. He's not talking. He's just closing his eyes. And I just remember rubbing his back. I just started rubbing his back. And I said, you're going to be okay, Mike. It's going to be okay, bro. We're good. We're good. And honestly, I didn't even know if he was going to be okay. I didn't know. I didn't know if he was going to live. And I just remember, I kept on telling him I love him. I love you, Mike. I love you, bro. And it's crazy because, like, I probably never told that dude I loved him my whole life until that moment. Because he's my bro. Because he's my guy. I was struggling hugging my older brother at an event. I can't love men. It's just as friends, I can't love them. But in this moment when he's about to die, where he might die, I finally could let it out so that he could feel something on the way out, if he does. But I felt so emotionally connected to my boy. Ambulances start coming. Suleiman he's Muslim, so he starts doing a Muslim prayer over us. Ambulance takes Mike, ambulance takes me. We get to the hospital, and I got like 9 interns. I got doctors all over me poking and prodding, like pouring down my wounds, and I'm feeling pain, but I just kept on asking, like, how's Mike? How's Mike? What's going on? How's Mike? They wouldn't give me answers. They take me to the x-ray room to make sure I didn't get any bone damage, and the double doors open up for the x-ray room, and I start to notice this like tall, like this skinny, like black, like he kind of looks like Mike. And he's kind of far away. And we're getting closer, and I start to realize, yo, that is Mike. That is Mike. And they line us up next to each other, and this is what made everything so much better. Mike just looks at me, he goes, "This some old bullshit, man." My life, man, like that moment, I was like, thank you, God. Like, thank you, God. I start harassing the nurses to get me in the same room as him. It works, so after a couple of hours, we get in the same room. And what happens next is kind of, some of you might not think it's crazy, but we just start going on Snapchat and start talking shit. Like, we're just like, yeah, you're like, yeah, what's going on? Like, you can't do nothing to us. And I'm not even built like that at all. Like, I'm a football player, but like, I'm not gangster, you know what I mean? But we're like talking smack on Snap. I still post them from time to time on Instagram just to be like, yo, like, this is what, because you know when people say what trauma looks like, what it doesn't look like that was traumatic. We're dying laughing in a hospital bed. That's trauma, dog. It's like, you know what I mean? So we didn't know exactly what Mike's injuries were. We didn't exactly know what mine were. And then they were like, Kyle, like, my mom came to the hospital, my brothers came. That was an emotional moment for me. And honestly, this is gonna be the first time I do admit that this happened in a speaking engagement. But I don't know why I've been holding this back. I had trouble with my dad growing up, and when I was in the hospital bed, my dad, he didn't realize what happened yet, because I didn't want to tell him, I didn't want to contact him, and he ended up coming hours later, and he never showed me any love, like I was saying, and he came in the hospital room and kissed me on the forehead. And at that moment, I was like, tears were like ready to go, and I never cry. I used to never cry. I used to brag about not crying. I used to be like, I haven't cried in 3 months. Like, I haven't cried in 2 years. And if I cried and nobody was around, I'd be like, all right, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. So I'm in that moment with my dad. I'm like, oh my God, he just kissed me on the forehead. Like, it was so weird because I was like, I haven't got this since I was like 5 years old, probably 4 years old or something. But anyways, I thought it would be important to note that. Just because, like, I don't know. This is more of a manhood talk, but for some reason, it took me, I've been doing this for a long time, 5 years now, since college, and I never said that part for some reason. It's almost like I still wanted to have that hate towards him. Goes to show where the relationship's at now, though. So we're in the hospital, and I hate hospitals. I'm trying to get out of there as fast as possible. Okay, they're like, Kyle, you're gonna need to use crutches. And I'm like, crutches? I'm not using crutches, I'm good. And I started walking like this, just like this, right? I'm walking around. The nurse is like, is that how you walk? And my mom happened to be there. And I'm like, Mom. And then my mom looks at the nurse, she's like, yeah, he walks like an idiot. He walks like an idiot. So I was like, okay, thanks, Mom, appreciate that. Got me out of the hospital, made fun of Mike for still being in the hospital, even though it's foul, I get it, I know, it sounds crazy. Get home, and then 2 days later when Mike gets out, we actually did get to read what happened to Mike, and he actually had paralysis in his arm, and he was like 97% non-functioning in his arm, and we didn't know. And Mike comes over to my house, and he says that, and I was kind of devastated. Obviously we were joking around and stuff, but the doctor said he might not ever be able to use his arm again. So things flipped real quick. I was happy he was alive, but now there's something that could be long-lasting forever, a constant reminder for him. And it was, to mind you, like, this is right before football camp. Football camp was not too far away. So I get a phone call from my coaches. They're like, hey, what's going on? Like, sorry this happened. And they were very supportive, and I love Cortland to death. I love my alma mater. I love all my coaches, but they said, Kyle, listen, we took your helmet away, we took your shoulder pads away because we know you're gonna have to recover. So, just if you want a red shirt, that's cool. I was like, you took my what? You gave my helmet away? You gave my shoulder pads away? It's like, yeah, because we don't know exactly what. Like, okay, cool. Bet. You don't think I'm gonna play this year? All right, cool, watch. Right before camp starts, I went to Mike's house, right before I went up to Cortland. And I said, Mike, every single play, every single time I'm in athletic training, every single time I'm doing physical therapy to recover, every game for the rest of this year, I'm dedicating to you. I had a purpose to play. Not just as a captain, not just of my team, because that was gonna hold me over regardless. But when it came to working out and working hard, and I'm feeling sorry for myself, meanwhile I have a best friend that can't even use his arm, I'm gonna go hard. And I did. I only missed one game. I came back the second game and got my helmet back. I only played half the reps, but by the third game of the year, by conference play, I was back and rolling. We had a great year that year, and I got to lead. At this point in my college career, I wanted to be a strength coach after. I was kinesiology, that was my thing. I really enjoyed it. But by the end of that year, my story starts to get out there. My school reaches out to me. My own school reporter said, hey, you were injured from this. Do you mind talking about it? I said, yeah, it's cool. I never talked about it publicly. I knew there was a trial coming up, right? Because they did catch the guy under a pile of clothes in his closet, like 2 days after the shooting, okay? So I knew something was coming down the pipeline. I told him as much as I could. I didn't think anything of it. Just the Cortland column, like your school newspaper, let's get it out to the school. The next day, I go on Twitter, CNN, ESPN, all this. Everybody has my story. Everybody's blasting it out there. And at first, I'm like, oh, I'm a D3 kid. Like, what is going on? Like, what is happening? Like, did something messed up? Like, did somebody mess up? Do they think Cortland's a D1 school? Like, what's going on, right? Story keeps on going viral, and as the story goes viral, people start to reach out to me. People that have experienced violence, whether it was sexual, domestic, or gun violence. Organizations were reaching out to me that cover this work, like It's On Us that I currently work for, like A Call to Men. I was getting all this recognition and hearing from survivors, and I started realizing, like, I could actually make a difference. And I've always wanted to be that guy that could make a difference, especially in athletics, because this is my life, sports are my life. I thought it would be in the weight room and being able to mentor, but I was like, I could help athletes off the field. I could actually be a part of organizations that do this work off the field. Relationships, love, like what does that look like, mental health, things like that. So I started digging deeper, going into my senior year. I started winning awards because of the incident and because of advocacy, going on the field with like a parallel, like representing activism, working, violence prevention work. I got to meet Joe Biden, which was interesting for me, coming from a small black community. Nobody where I was from was like able to have opportunities like I was having at this moment. When I met Joe Biden, I'm not even a political guy. My CNN or Fox was literally ESPN growing up. Like my dad would be like, what's going on in the world today? And he would put ESPN on. And I'm like, oh, she just made a crazy play, that's great. That was my life every day. So, but when I met Joe Biden, he was a former vice president at the time, because this was 2018. And you know that personal space thing with him that's kind of like people talk about? It's true, like I was talking to him and I just remember his face was like here. And I was like, yeah. I was like, whoa. He was a part of the starting the It's On Us brand, but I was like, this is intense. Like I'm literally looking at Joe Biden in the eye. What is happening to my life right now? That night though, to tell you how much I care about sports, that night when I met him, it was like 11:30 at night. I had practice at 6 a.m. the next day. My coach said, you're good, don't go to practice. But if I'm a captain, I'm thinking, I gotta get there. I drove 5 hours to get back to my school to make that 5 a.m. practice, 6 a.m. practice. Okay, I was really, really all about sports. I could care less about the attention, the fame. The attention and fame is what kind of got me here today, I can't lie. But at the time, I'm a team player, I'm a captain. So I got to practice, and the thing I didn't realize is that it was a conditioning day. So I was not gonna do that, I was just not. I got to practice, I watched them condition, and as soon as it was non-conditioning stuff, I was like, I'm back, I'm good, So I go into my senior year, Mike, on the back end, I used to write 100% Mike on my eye black, and going into my senior year, he's still messed up, still get to 50%, much better, but it wasn't fully there yet. My whole senior year, I start to really, keep pushing the agenda, Mike, you gotta work harder, bro, Mike, you gotta work harder. Mike, 100%, let's go, let's get it. Had a great senior year. Mike got back to where he's around right now, but it was over 95% functioning. So I was very, very happy about that. Very happy about that. It was a journey for the both of us, but we were obviously very far apart from each other, but I still had that purpose. I was playing for somebody. So after my senior year was over, I started having time on my hands. I know a lot of athletes in here don't understand that you actually will have time after this is done. I had time, and I got to start reaching out to the organizations like It's On Us. School started reaching out to me to tell my story. And at first, when I was getting reached out to tell my story, I didn't know what I was gonna say. I didn't know what kind of impact I could have. But I just started trying to be as real as possible, trying to be authentic, talk like I talk. Okay, and I know I talk like a New Yorker, probably sounds crazy to y'all, but it's just, I felt like the authenticity and just being able to talk about like my problems as a man or struggles that I've had, just being vulnerable about it, I felt like it could help me connect to the issue, because I was really trying to find my role in violence prevention and what I could do. The years went on. I'm here now, obviously, 5 years since 5 to 6 years since the incident. And I'm still growing. I'm still learning what it's like to be a man. But I'm really just interested in working with like men, athletes, female athletes, regardless, like the whole sports world in general. Because I feel like the sports world does have a big platform for this kind of work. If I wasn't a football player, my stuff wouldn't have went viral. Plain and simple. If I didn't play football, that whole story would have went nowhere. Nobody would know about it. Most people do great things. A lot of people do great things all the time. Don't get me wrong. This stuff's happening every day. There are people in this room right now that are active bystanders. There are people right now that have directly helped somebody's life, saved somebody's life. And I know it to be a fact. Statistically speaking, there's heroes in this room right now. And it's not always about being direct. I know I was being direct in that moment. I put myself in a dangerous situation. I didn't know the guy. It probably wasn't the best way to intervene. I stopped him from hurting somebody else, though, and I'm here today to talk about it. But was it dangerous? Yeah, absolutely. But there's other ways to go about it. If it's your best friend that might be causing trouble, might be causing harm, and you see it, be direct with them. That's your friend. You know how to handle that. But if it's somebody you don't know, there's other ways to go about it. You could distract them. One time I was doing something that was like a frat kid. I was like, what would you do to distract somebody? And he was like, well, if you're at a bar, you could look out the window and start screaming, yo, somebody's running outside naked. And at first I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? But then I was like, my stupid ass probably looked like, wait, what? I'm like, wait, what's going on for real? And I think, somebody that gets lost in my story a lot is Lanice, right? She delegated the situation. She wanted to get more help. She knew she couldn't handle it on her own, so she delegated to us. Whenever you have teammates, if you're on a team or a group or whatever, you can delegate to your squad. You have a group meeting, you have a group chat, delegate to them, hey, listen, we need help. This girl's being harassed by such and such. We had incidences, and let me make sure I'm good on time. What are we at time? Where's the clock at in here? I don't want to go over. What's up? Overtime. Sorry, y'all, I apologize. You guys get the point, right? Be an active bystander. Be a good person. Be a good teammate. At the end of the day, it's your campus. It's not the administrators. They don't see everything that's going on. You have to take lead. The best teams are player-led. And I believe the same kind of thing could be instilled in the culture of campuses. It's not just your team, it's your campus. Protect those on your campus. And not just your campus. When you're out and about at the bar scene, when you're out and about in your future careers, be an active bystander. Be an upstander. Thank you so much, y'all. I appreciate you guys for having me. Thanks for being attentive. You guys rock. Please take some pictures after.